What's up, guys? Welcome to our next segment. Thank you to all our new subscribers. Guys, we are really grateful to have you to be a part of this ministry that we're doing, reaching the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ. With that being said, guys, we're going to dive into Bible bars. Our segment today is worship. Ask you a question. Do you worship? Do you know what worship is? Do you worship correctly? Who do you worship? The biggest saw ever. Just in the middle, like right when you get started. It wasn't going all day. A few definitions I want to give you about worship today before we get started. Some definitions that I found looking and doing some research. One guy in particular, William Temple, wrote the definition of worship like this. Worship is the submission of all of our nature to God. It is the quickening of the conscience by His holiness, the nourishment of mind with His truth, the purifying of imagination by His beauty, the opening of heart to His love, the surrender of His will to this purpose, all this gathered up in adoration, the most selfless emotion of which our nature is capable. That's a serious definition. Let me give you the second definition I read today. It says true worship, in other words, is defined by the priority we place on who God is in our lives and where God is on our list of priorities. True worship is a matter of the heart expressed through a lifestyle of holiness. Thus, if your lifestyle does not express the beauty of holiness through an extravagant or exaggerated love for God, and you do not live in extreme or excessive submission to God, then I invite you to make worship a non-negotiable priority in your life. These two definitions are so different than how most of us define worship. Worship is not that segment that happens right after the fast songs are done. Now it's time for worship. Worship is not the slow songs of church service. Worship is not the giving of your tithe. While those are all acts of worship, that's not what worship is. It doesn't encapsulate worship. At its core, it's a selfless act, or a selfless lifestyle, I should say. Worship is you giving all that you are, inside and out, to God, all that He is, bowing your entire will down to His. Now let's compare our worship to His. The slow song comes on at church. Somebody gets up there and they get the mic. They start leading us in worship. Now listen, I know that there are some sincere worship leaders and there are some doctrinally sound worship leaders that love God in all sincerity. So this is not about you, but all you other guys. You get up there, you lead worship, and then you turn it into something all about us. Like, I'm gonna get my stuff and wrap me in your arms and saturate my mind and open the doors for me. Do all these things for me. Worship is you being made of nothing, bowing down to God. We've got to distinguish the act of worship from what worship is entirely. If you don't live a life dedicated to God, if you don't live a life in worship to God, then what is it that you're actually doing and what is it that you're worshiping? If I define worship as the express bowing down or submitting to something that's higher than you, then what is it that you worship? And do you just worship one thing? Is it multiple things that we worship? Let's put it through the ringer. Let's put it through the test. We have athletes that we esteem highly. We go to the stadium. We scream their names through our TVs. Some people paint their bodies. If that's not worship, I don't know what worship is. Are we worshiping things that do not merit worship? There is only one who deserves worship, and that is who's superior above all, and that is Jesus Christ. I want to encourage you today about true worship. It's so many times we get wrapped up in doing all this other stuff, extracurricular activities, and we don't just get the simple, basic principle down. When is the last time you got on your knees in worship? When is the last time you yielded yourself to God? When is the last time you laid prostrate? Is that right? When is the last time you laid prostrate before God? When is your face touched the carpet and you cried, "Oh God, how excellent you are"? You don't have to have won the lotto or got some new shoes to worship God. Worship is based off who He is. And since He can't change, He's intrinsic to His nature, worship should be intrinsic to you. Here's some lyrics from an old song of mine called Planted. Hopefully you enjoy it. My feet are planted. I'm rooted. I'm up and standing in the planet, and the planets and stars are in His hands. I'm a seed, And Christ is what I'm growing, what I'm living for. I rise from the water and sun. The sun is my living water. I toil. My eyes, they moisture. I done branched out in some tougher soil. Can't park. The weeds are jumping in. The devil's bark is trying to stump my stem, but I'm tearing them apart. You see, when the vine leaves, you'll find me crying. And when I ride by trees, it reminds me of Christ is dying. And I ain't lying. As long as I'm lying, and his alms I'm applying, more than alms and I mean. In seasons I move, like in autumn I fall, then spring up and I bloom. I blossom in summer and then I get drenched from the thunder, but then I dry off around June, Bars. Guys, this ends our segment today. Hopefully you'll subscribe. Please share this. Let's just share this all over the internet. Let's talk about worship. Tell your friends, co-workers. I try to do this so that we can reach the world. Please help me reach the world. Do that. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media outlets. Again, I'll tell you, we have a single coming pretty soon. Stay tuned. Keep your eyes peeled back like that. Peeled back on that iTunes, because it's coming. It's going to be called Run, featuring a sister of mine named Jessica. It's going to be whoo! So get ready.
Ready?